and welcome to this month's photo contest results. I'm joined today with my wonderful friend Josh Cameron, or Cameraman as I like to call him. Tell people what you do in case they've never seen your channel before, which is a crime, by the way, because it's wonderful.
I am a Elman exclusive channel. I normally only cover the latest things and updates regarding Lumix cameras and also teach you how to use the cameras a little bit better.
If you've ever seen good B-roll of me on my channel, the chances are that Josh filmed it. And if there's bad B-roll on his channel, the chances are I filmed it.
That's not true.
The contest this month was the photo of 2025. So you could interpret this in a number of different ways, whether it's just the very best photo that you took in the year or something that more represents the story of the year for you. We've had so many wonderful entries and it's been interpreted in loads of cool different ways. So, as per usual, we're going to start with our honourable mentions, just photos that caught our eye that we really enjoyed and wanted to shout out. Then we're going to do the top 10, which isn't ranked, but you made it to the top 10. Yay! And then the top 3 is ranked. And in third and second place, we get prizes from me and Josh, both of our photo and video preset packs. And first place is my delightful GX80/GX85, which is going to go out to a new home and get someone outside and created and using photography for joy and happiness, and I'm very happy to see it go to a new home. So starting with honourable mentions, these are just the ones that caught our eye and we wanted to showcase them and shout out about them. Now this one for me, I spoke about this recently in a video, in my photography myths video, and it was just like, sometimes photos can just be gorgeous and they don't necessarily have to tell war and peace. They can just be well composed, beautiful lighting, beautiful subject, and this is perfect example of that. What do you make of this one, Josh?
The thing that I love about about this photo is that they haven't cut off the reflection of that massive mast that's sticking out. And I feel like some people could look at that image and go, you know what, I'm going to stick the boats directly dead center of the frame. But I like the fact they've shifted the horizon up slightly to make space for the reflection. And I totally agree. I think some of my favorite photos I've ever taken are of just inanimate objects with good lighting. It doesn't have to tell a story, and I think that's a good example of that.
I think you're so right about the composition as well, because like whenever I take a shot like this, I tend to sort of slice it down the middle, and I happen to think that this composition is much more pleasing. So very
Yeah.
well done. Of course, a picture says 1,000 words. This gentleman is clearly retired this year, and what a better way to celebrate it than take a photo of it. I just thought it was really charming.
No, I love it. Oh, congrats, man. If you're
Yeah.
watching this, congratulations on retirement. That's amazing.
And I love, like, the first 2 opening pictures really do show how many different ways you can go with this prompt. It can be something that's a really personal story or just, an amazing photograph. So there's loads of different ways that we can interpret this prompt. This summer, I trained for and cycled 4,000 miles from Austin to Alaska with a team to raise money for cancer research. This is one of my favourite pictures I took that day when we crossed from Canada to Alaska. I realised for a lot of the year I mostly photographed landscapes and other people, and took advice from one of your videos about inserting myself into photographs instead of always being behind the camera. Yeah, I love that. What do you think about this one, Josh?
I think every single photographer at one point has tried to take the moving car out of the photo in the mirror photo. Like, it's such an iconic one to try and get, and I think that the moment that she took this photo makes it mean a whole lot more, you know. I think it's a fantastic image, and I also think it looks incredibly retro, having a slightly dirty wing mirror as well. Because I've got a photo exactly like this, and Emily, I'll show it to you. But when I was going around Kruger National Park, I was taking photos like this when Ham was driving. And I genuinely think it does help you, the person that took the photo, remember the day a lot better. So even if someone else doesn't see exactly what you see in it, it's one of those photos that I think anyone should take in the moment that they're in, you know?
So this was taken in October with my phone, parked at the side of the road. What makes it special for me and defines 2025, beside the imagery, it's a double rainbow, and it represents 2 amazing things that I've done right around the time that I shot it. I got married the very next day. And then the second thing is my now wife moved to the countryside as we've always wanted. So I love that. I mean, it's a great photo in and of itself. And I think it definitely shows, that old adage of the best camera you have is the one you have with you. And to always be on the lookout for interesting photos. And then the story of the guy getting married the next day is just much too cute. I love it.
It's awesome. And I think that that's one of those images that you would hang up in your house and both of you would look at that and remember that moment in your life, you know? And even if it's not apparent to every single beholder of the image, it is to you. And that's ultimately why you should be taking photos in the first place. It's for yourself, not for anyone else. So, yeah, I love it.
This photo was my attempt at a candid image. It's my grandmother at her 100th birthday party taken this September. I think, given the prompt, the image really summed up my year. Trying something new, candid photography, making tons of mistakes, framing, lighting, aperture, etc., but also ultimately being something that I'll treasure even though it's far from perfect. Isn't that just what photography is all about, though?
Yeah, exactly. No, I love it. And also that moment is such a good one to capture, you know? 100th birthday, are you serious? That's such a feat. That's incredible.
I think that's amazing. And I just love actually just the joy in all the image. I don't think it's badly composed at all. I think it's absolutely perfect. Everyone's smiling. We've got some nice bokeh. We've got some interest in the foreground. And yeah, just the main thing is that it captures the joy of the moment, which is what you intended to get. I began my
It's
nature.
so cool.
Isn't it cool? I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, if I was to be super duper picky, I'd say I wish the wing was in frame. But when these things happen so quick, you can't blooming like account for that. Like I took a woodpecker photo the other day that was just most of it was out of frame. It's so hard and happens in such a split second.
But
So I
also getting
began.
it in focus is a feat in itself, you know? Like,
It's insane, isn't it?
yeah.
And apparently, I began my nature photography journey in March this year. I mean, if you've been doing this less than a year and you're coming up with photos like this is incredible. I have a new favourite photo ever almost every month. Isn't that the best feeling in the world? I've used it was shot on the Lumix G9 II, and I finally captured something that impresses not just myself but everyone I've shown it to. Fighting cardinals is now my favourite photo ever because it wraps up all of my patience and hard work into one frame, and I can't wait to see what 2026 will bring. Ah!
No, that's awesome. That's so cool. I also think that, I mean, I'm again just looking at the bokeh and the general sort of temperature of the image. I'm guessing this was taken in a more wintry time of the year. But even then, I feel like the lighting on the feathers themselves looks so like rich and prominent, like almost like the lighting's also worked in their favor as well, which again is just a really, really nice thing to happen, especially with wildlife photography. So yeah, it's a really, really nice image.
Yeah, it's stunning and it's super tricky. I think bird in flight is probably the most tricky photography that I've ever tried. And for you to be less than a year in and get stuff like this is just, I can't wait to see what 2026 brings for you as well. Right, so thus concludes our honourable mentions. I'm going to head into our top 10 now, and these are not in any particular order, only 3, 2, and 1 are ranked. And I think me and Josh are both going to like this photo because it's the part of the world that we've been to a lot together, and it's amazing. Let me grab my caption. Passing through time, captured in a quiet backstreet in Kyoto, the image explores the tension between tradition and modern.
I mean, I love it. It's one of those places where any image I see of Japan, whether it's Kyoto, Tokyo, Osaka, I feel fond of it. So, and also, you know, capturing, like traditional wear in a more urban environment, without anyone else there. I mean, I'm guessing that this was so late at night that there wasn't anyone else there, which is quite a rarity for Japan too. So, I think it's a really, really nice image.
Yeah, I love the contrast between the warm tones on the right and the cool tones on the left, and then of course the storytelling contrast between having more traditional dress in such a modern environment. Yeah, I think it works on a story level and a photo level, and yeah, I think you've done a really good job. So thank you for sharing that image with us. This is right up my street. I am obsessed with pigeons and seagulls whenever I'm doing street photography. I wish I could pay them because they just make every photograph so much better. The moment I read the contest caption, this image came to my mind. It's beautiful and chaotic at the same time, and this year was one of internal learning, growth, and at the same time struggle. So I think this image describes my year well. It's a bit chaotic, but at the same time, it has some beauty to it. I use my Panasonic 20mm that I just bought, and I was learning to use it with my GX9. What a brilliant combo! Yeah, I love this, and I love that the shutter speed is a little bit lower as well. I think it adds to the chaos a heck of a lot more than if everything was frozen in motion. What do you reckon,
Yeah,
Josh?
agreed, agreed. Now, I think sometimes if images are like perfectly sharp, especially when there is meant to be a lot of movement in the frame, it can sort of lose the effect a little bit of what the moment felt like. So I totally agree. And I've actually stood exactly where this image was taken in London. And I'm telling you, those guys are bastards. They will come for anything. So,
It's so
so,
true.
so I feel the moment as well because I've literally been there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
I did a
amazing.
few photo walks with some students down the Thames, and we had like skateboarders in the skate park, and we had a model, and I swear most of the time we spent shooting the seagulls because they were just so chaotic and
Yeah.
entertaining.
That's
And
it's a great image, and I also love the fact that you've been able to somehow in this frame keep again. I should really call it Nelson's column, shouldn't I? Not Big Ben because Big Ben's the bell inside. But you've managed to keep Big Ben out of the path of destruction, if you like, which also is a nice sort of landmark thing as well. So yeah,
yeah, it's good. I'm a sucker for taking very well photographed places and taking the photograph in a new way. And this is very new and original, and I like it very much. Very well done. My wife and I bought our first home, welcomed our new baby, and I started experimenting with film photography for the first time this year. This photograph represents all three. One of my favourite photos I've ever taken, and one of the most important years of my life. You've got the new house in the background, you've got a beautiful bit of warm sunlight, you've got the new cot or crib for the baby, yeah, and taken on film as well. I think it adds that nostalgic element to it.
exactly. I
Yeah,
was gonna say like even though your child's being born in the world of digital, you're still gonna have that the rawness of film as memories, and I feel like that's something that I was almost at the end of that era of film. But I love the fact that you could potentially be photographing the first moments of your brand new child's life in film, which is a medium that I'm sure yourself and the people around you are quite familiar with, in your own sort of, what's the word, family books and stuff. So, no, I love it. I think it's great. And
yeah.
also, I also really like the flaring too. Sorry that we're not talking about the message anymore, but I think the flaring looks really nice as well. So whatever lens you took this on, it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm just always amazed by the warmth and the rich colours in film. I just think it's so timeless and lovely, and what a wonderful image to look back on. Thank you for sharing it. Oh, this one is right up my street. This is so like moody and cyberpunky. I'm a person with young onset Parkinson's disease. I thought photography was no longer possible for me due to my reduced dexterity. I used to love night photography, and the illness affects my sleep. So one night towards the end of spring, I went out in my local town and took a handful of photos. The one entered here is the 90s style phone box, using a slow shutter speed to get motion blur from the bus passing on the other side. Yeah, I think it's cracking, and
Yeah.
I love that everybody in all walks of life can use photography as a creative outlet, and it's accessible to almost everyone. And I just think it's a beautiful story that you've shared with us. And in terms of the photo itself, I love the colours. I love the grittiness. And yeah, I think like I don't know around in your area, Josh, but like phone boxes are becoming a thing of a past around here. They're all just like getting taken down and stuff. So it's quite nice to see them actually.
Yeah, yeah. There's not many near me. I know that much. I think one that is actually on the high street near me has now been turned into a defibrillator box.
Yeah,
So,
we've got a few of them.
yeah, yeah. So they get turned into other things. But yeah, no, I think like even just technically speaking, like I'm guessing the slow shutter were you handheld or was it on a tripod? But like the actual technical composition of this is so good to have got such a nice motion blur, almost so that it looks like a reflection of something and not like a moving subject behind a pane of glass. Yeah, it's really eye-catching. I think it's a great image.
Oh, this one's beautiful as well. I was first, before I read the story of this image, just obsessed with the colours in this sort of space, and it's so like liminal and empty. And then I read the caption. This photo was taken at my local care centre where I was waiting for my doctor's appointment. I've been having digestive issues a lot and a lot of pain since last December, and I've spent this entire year going frequently to hospital and urgent care. They're still trying to figure out the problem, and I'm feeling better slowly, so don't worry. I took this photo because I was tired and mad of going back and forth to the doctors all the time, and I wanted to express my feelings in some way. How nice is that? Like, before I read the story, I got the story of the photo from it, if you get what I mean. Like, it's a very lonely, isolated, liminal space that they've captured.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But it's incredible how you're still able to see beauty in such a, testing time as well. And I do think this is a very beautifully taken image. The lighting looks wonderful. You've picked a very, very good moment, and you've implemented what I've always said to anyone who asks about photography, like how to take a good photo. And I've always said, look for light, not subjects. And you've done exactly that. You've looked for the light and you've seen a beautiful frame within a not very beautiful time. So, yeah, I think it's really good. I love it.
Beautiful. And in terms of the editing, because I think the colours are superb, I am such a sucker for having that blue tint in the highlights. I think it looks so hashtag cinematic.
Mm,
You see it on the floor where you just have like that off white. I think it's such a really polished and interesting split tone in this
I
edit.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This year, I was given the project of photographing and cataloguing over 175 relics in the church, which date back to 1456. I started in April and only finished in November, and in all those months, I saw the sun shine through the top window only once. And that's the moment of the photo, such a lucky shot.
Wow. That's so cool. So I'm guessing like there's only very specific times and days where it lines up like in such a way. But I also think that the fact that they know that how rare it is, it makes it even better than if it happened all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
absolutely.
lovely image.
Yeah, and I think it works in two ways. I think if you've spent so much of 2025 doing this job, then it's a photo that documents that time. But also having such an intimate knowledge of the place and knowing how rare it is on top of that, I think makes it even more special.
Yeah, that's a really cool photo.
I love the story in this image and the composition, but my goodness, the editing just, oh, do you know like certain colours just tickle your brain?
Yeah,
I just think
yeah,
it's such a pleasing, well edited shot. At the bottom of everything is the title for this one. This picture shows my year and my situation almost precisely. I'm right at the start of something, preparing, plans ready, drum roll, dot, dot, dot. So it's like an anticipation image. And I think it also shows my passion and care for the kids that I'm working with at the elementary school. I just love this picture, I really do. I don't know actually like what's going on in the story of the photo, but it looks like maybe they're gearing up to use the equipment or gearing up to make a shot. It's like they're waiting for something, and I like that you can't see the subject's face, and it's like they're looking up, and it's like just anticipation is what I see in this image. I really like
yeah.
it.
And it's also been taken with, I mean, I'm guessing it's of course natural lighting, but you've got a natural little rim light around the subject's hair as well, which looks really nice.
Yeah.
And I also agree, by the way, I think the colors are fantastic. I always love it when people compliment my colors, and I know how good it feels. So I want to make sure that that was said as well, because I think they are a lovely palette of colors you've used there. So yeah.
I chose this photo because it's one that brought my love for photography back to life. I used to shoot a lot, but more than 10 years ago, I basically stopped. Having a kid and a full time job didn't leave much room for hobbies, but for a family trip, I tossed my old DSLR and a pretty terrible lens into my suitcase, and somewhere along the way, I realised how much I missed taking pictures. I mean, that's exactly what this contest is about, isn't it? I want people to go out and notice little moments and use photography as therapy and a creative outlet. And the fact that this is such a bloody brilliantly composed shot is just icing on the cake. What
Yeah,
do you reckon?
I'm convinced the guy on your bike is your friend. And this was done over and over again until you got the perfect shot because this is so hard to do. To line it up between where those two pillars meet is, yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Um, I want to verify whether you know this guy.
Challenge. Yeah, I love the absolutely bold, straight on, straight down the middle composition. And I love the bold colours. And I love that it's just the right amount of motion blur. Any more, and the subject would be too hazy to figure out what was going on, or maybe get deleted entirely. And then any less, and it wouldn't look deliberate. So I just think it's like the perfect amount of blur. I love hearing stories of people who are coming back to photography because I think it's something that I think once you've tried it can be very very addicting, but as this person said, sometimes life just gets in the way. So I think it's really nice to hear when people come back to it and find a love of it again, and that's exactly what I wanted this contest to be. So yay. In terms of your year in photography, Josh, is there any highlights that you've had personally?
You know what? I take so many photos and I'm very lucky to do this for work, which means that I get the chance to sort of look back and reflect on different images or moments or in my year quite frequently. In fact, I've now like every single year as a little thing. I was sorry, that was my sit desk raising up. Sorry if that scared the shit out of me. Tried to do this emotional monologue and then that just ruined it. Oh God, right, where was I? Yeah, I get to take a lot of images throughout the year and I get to reflect on them. And at the moment, I'm doing my sort of yearly roundup thing that I always do for fun, that sort of just pieces together like 30 seconds of my entire year in a compilation. And it's like moments like that where I remember each trip for what they were, and I start to think way more fondly about the photos all over again. So I wouldn't say there's particularly been a highlight because I'm just a lucky boy and my entire life is a highlight. So to sort of pin it down to one is so tricky.
Yeah, I tend to do like a yearly roundup myself, and I think I've really experienced what you're talking about for the first time, where this year has been such a blur. I mean, even just me and you, have we been to 5 countries together this year?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's fire for you and I, yeah, together. And
And
then you've done
then
another like six on top of that. Yeah.
yeah, very, very lucky, but it does almost feel like I need to sit down and go through everything and just sort of process all these experiences. Yeah, so I think I'll do a little like top 10 or something of my own photographs on Instagram towards the end of the year once I have a breather.
Yeah.
What's your favorite camera at the moment? Do you use your S9 for your everyday stuff?
I've taken the most images I'm happy with this year with the S9, and that's because it's the camera I have with me. And as we all know, the camera you have with you is the one that's the best camera. Using your own LUTs already in the camera, and anyone, the winner of said thing, if you do have a Lumix camera and you would like to try and do this, use them in camera if you can because it makes everyday photography so much easier.
Yeah, I took the Lumix S9 to Paris a couple of months ago, and all of it was just using my Streetwise preset straight out of camera. I didn't edit any of them, and it was so refreshing to come back from a little trip and be like, I've got no editing to do. It's all done.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I feel like that is one of the biggest barriers of entry for a lot of photographers out there is they have a camera, but they understand the workflow that goes into bringing it with them, taking the images, processing the raw files, exploiting them again, sending them back to their phone to share them online. Like, it's a really laborious process. So if you are just going out with some friends and family just for a little get together or for, I don't know, some activity that's close by to you, for example, you don't really want to go through doing all that stuff. So this really has helped me take more images throughout the year, and that has definitely always been a massive goal of mine. So, so yeah.
I think for me, my most used everyday carry camera has been the OM System OM3. And I think my favourite photographs this year have probably been from the Valencia Fire Festival way back in March, just because it's so unconventional and strange. And yeah, it's so hard to photograph, and I actually did an all right job at it. Yay! So, to recap, third place and second place will get the full preset packs from myself and Josh, so you can have a tinker and get some different editing styles. And then first place, I'm parting ways with my Lumix GX85. So, let's get stuck in. Weirdly, speaking of the Louvre, because this photo was taken in the Louvre, I went to Paris recently, as I said, and we didn't organise it at all. We couldn't get photos to go into the Louvre, so this is the best photo I managed to get outside of the Louvre. So a bit of a fail, but in terms of like a personal moment, I think it was really, really funny. This year I've had the privilege of visiting world-class art galleries in Paris, Malaga and the UK, always with my Micro Four Thirds camera and looking for inspiration and opportunities for my photography. The staircase was taken in the Louvre. It was incredibly busy, but I found an angle and I wanted to wait for an interesting and uncluttered moment. I mean, dude.
Yeah, this is straight up like movie poster stuff. And also just like the soft shadow falling on the stairs behind where he's walking up. Like, oh, yeah, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous photo. And you know what? I really wish I did more things like that. Just found a composition and camped out for 15, 20 minutes, whatever it took. Because I think photos like this are so worth the wait, you know?
So true. And one thing that I love about this, and it's something I would never think of in a million years, is to actually shoot it on the diagonal. I think
Yeah,
so many people would just do it sort of straight on or portrait, but I think having it on the diagonal makes it so much more artistic, and you can sort of see the elongated shadow a little bit more, and then you know that the subject's leading towards this lion at the top. I just, yeah, 10 out of 10. Love this
yeah.
image. And the next time I'm in Paris, I'm going to have to book tickets and go to the Louvre and also get see the Mona Lisa and have a selfie with her.
Twins.
Twinnies.
Uh,
Okay, so that is third place, very well deserved. I would frame that if I took that image. That is absolutely stunning. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And then on to number two. I mean, the mist and the light in this image is just sublime. And I would be so happy if I took anything half as good as this. What do you reckon, Josh?
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where the light just, oh, like finding moments like that is exactly why I love traveling, you know, like just finding good light in places that aren't home is just amazing. I mean, again, I'm not too sure whether this is very close to where you live or not, but you know, this is the sort of place I drive hours to see, you know, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
Really, really nice.
let's have a cheeky read and see if it is local. In May, I moved to Switzerland for work, and living here drove me headfirst into the realm of hiking and exploring the Swiss landscapes. I saw this as a perfect opportunity to work on my nature photography skills. Then, a few weeks back, I overcame the uneasiness of going on a mountain adventure by myself. My doubts were due to not speaking German, and I was unsure if the path would be within my limited hiking skills. I ended up having literally one of the best days of my life and capturing exactly the magic that I had in mind. This was shot on the OM1 Mark 1. Wow. So this is marking the adventure of going on a photography walk on your own. I I do this quite a lot, particularly for street photography, and I find it so meditative and
Mm.
really, it makes me feel really present. Like I'm going out with nothing to do except take photos, and I think it's so, so relaxing. Have you done much solo photography, Josh?
I think my best photos are when I'm like, you know, just really locked in, you know. So like occasionally I'll go on photo walks with friends in London or Em and I will go on photo walks and stuff. But like, or even at Lumix events when we get flown out and everyone goes on photo walks there. But what I normally like to do is a couple of hours before anyone is around or meeting up, I'll go out by myself and just warm up a bit. And I find that that really helps me when I'm then going back around that place again with people, let's say, for example, I know exactly what shots I'm looking for. So yeah, going by yourself and even just scouting out shots you want. Potentially the weather's not good that day, but you could take a photo of a particular frame you like and then come back another day. That's really, really helpful. And yeah, very meditative. That's how you say it, right? Meditative.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. We'll go with that. Yeah,
let's
I
go
think
with
that's
that
how I
one.
would say it. Yeah, I love it. And I love it when you try something that is out of your comfort zone and it really pays off. One of the biggest photo trips I did that was completely out of my comfort zone was the first time we went to Japan in 2022 with Panasonic. I took a solo trip to Skytree Tower, and it was a whole day on my own because everyone was indecisive and no one wanted to come with me, and Josh was green because he'd been out the night before. And I had to navigate the trains on my own. I had to, a language barrier. But honestly, just going up that tower was just like a this is what life is all about moment. And it was really humbling. And yeah, one of the best days of my year and possibly my life I spent entirely on my own. I don't know what that says about me, but it was such an empowering moment for sure.
But I also feel like it came at a pivotal time as well because it was the very first time that both you and I had been overseas for a like a camera event. So it was also very much like a, I made it moment, I think, for you. And meanwhile, I was throwing up into my sketches.
I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I had jet lag, and I could see on Josh's Instagram story that he was still out.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
just like, oh, dude,
yeah, that was a heavy
oh,
night.
that was funny. But it's an adventure. It was an adventure, and one of the best press trips ever. It was brilliant. So second place, well deserved. Absolutely obsessed with the autumnal colours and the mist and the story behind the image. So very well done, and thank you for sharing your image. And now on to number one. My sad little drum roll. I'm sorry, but here we go. Dun dun dun! I bloomin' love this photo. What do you reckon, Josh?
This one stood out to me the second I looked through all of the images. I think that it is so perfectly composed. And one of those images that if you saw that hanging up in any building, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's a really cool photo. It doesn't matter what style of photography you like, this will appeal to you. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
Taken in Cambodia's new international airport with my very first Micro Four Thirds camera. My job demands a lot of travelling, but it also gives me something priceless, the chance to see the world. The more places I go, the smaller I feel in this big world, and the more I realise how much home means to me. And how good is that caption for this photo? Like the subject is so tiny and dwarfed by all this man-made architecture. And it's also quite like it feels like almost like a lonely photograph, just having one person in all this vast space. But I think
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. And I love the idea that this is someone on a commute on a work trip and they've taken the time to spy out this stunning location and take a fantastic photo when other people might be sat down watching TikTok or reading a newspaper. We're using our time as photographers to find creativity in these down moments, and it's absolutely paid off here. I would be
Yeah.
so happy if I took this photo. I want to go to
And
this airport just to take this photo.
well, I mean, one of my questions is like, what time of day was this taken, or was there any sort of manipulation that went into place so that you didn't get anyone else in the image? Because, like, capturing this moment in an airport is so, like spectacular, especially just to have one individual that's framed up so perfectly with that sort of command tower in the background. Also completely unrelated, but I have to say it, otherwise it's gonna burden my brain for the rest of the evening. Has anyone else seen the face in this image? You can see the eyes at the top and then the mouth, and the
Yep.
person's just inside the mouth. That's also a fun thing about this photo. I think it works on so many levels.
Yeah, I love it. I think even if there were a couple of people AI'd out or airbrushed out, I said in a recent video, like I do that to remove distractions, and I think it's perfectly valid because the original idea of finding the exact way to line up this composition and get the reflection right and waiting for the subject, I think it's all very deliberate, and if there were any original distractions, I think it's perfectly fine to get rid.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. I'm not against doing that at all. It's just when you start adding stuff that wasn't there beforehand that I start to feel a bit uneasy about. Um,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, I just think the composition is so strong, the story is so strong. The caption that was given with the story about traveling and feeling very small in the world, I relate to so much. I had that little epiphany at the top of Skytree Tower, actually, which is what I was just talking about, where you can just see city for miles and miles and miles, and you feel teeny tiny, just like the subject in this photo. Thank you so much for submitting this image. I think it's such a deserving winner, and you are now the proud owner of a Lumix GX85. And if you take amazing photographs with it like this at some point, please tag me and show me, because I would love to see the adventures that this camera goes on. I think that's one of the best things about buying and selling used, actually thinking like, where's this camera been before and where's it going to go? So yeah, well done, and thank you for sharing your image with the community. Have you enjoyed being a photography contest guest, Josh?
I have. It's been so much fun. It's not often. Also, like I want this to be on the record. I don't think I'm a master of photography. I think that all of the images in this were fantastic, and everyone has their own styles and what they like to shoot. I just think it's really cool to see so many people shooting, you know. And I think that doing competitions like this really shows a community of people that all want to share their work, that may get lost in the sort of folds of social media, you know, and how AI driven that is now and Sora based it is. There's not really a space anymore to show and you know, really showcase your images, especially the ones that you're proud of. So I want to thank you for doing these. These are really fun. I
Oh,
like it.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I often say on this channel, like, the quality and talent of people within this community astounds me, and any one of them deserves way more likes than I get. But just because I'm silly and talk to camera all the time, I get a good amount of likes on my photographs, which I appreciate very much. But it's often a popularity contest, isn't it, rather than the work itself on Instagram. Like
Yeah,
any one of these photos deserves 100 million likes, and sometimes it doesn't always happen that way because the algorithm is fickle. So I love
exactly.
having the opportunity to just shout about these amazing photographers and go, look at all these amazing people.
This community doesn't have to always be about the latest and greatest gear. It can also be about people using whatever they have at their, you know, availability and doing really good things with it. So, yeah, really impressed, by the way. I just want to say again, really impressed with those iPhone photos. Really, really impressive. Like, yeah, you guys are really good at photography.
Awesome. So thank you so much for Josh for joining us and donating your presets to the prize pool. I shall be in touch with the winners in the coming days. Usually I try and leave it a couple of days, so hopefully you hear it from here first, because I think that would be quite exciting. And yeah, thank you all for taking part, and I shall see you in the next one.